love you forever. But the real test of our love is coming. What's that? You need to meet my parents. Oh no! Next time on Vampire Love Week, will the vampire parents accept the non-vampire lover? Well, I don't know. We'll find out. Booklets.
In a world more racially charged than I thought.
Yeah, that's like a good summary of life at the moment. like, jeez, when everyone's everything but moderate. Anyway.
In a world where people just won't shut up, one man and another man will dare to be Book Blitz. Welcome back to Book Blitz, everybody. Chapter 15, The Cullens. This is the chapter where Bella finally meets Edward's family. So, Charlie still doesn't know about all this, by the way, and he will find out pretty soon, but Charlie's still in the dark about all of this.
I like how Charlie's still freaking Charlie, like in my version.
How do you mean? Oh, yeah, he's not gender bent.
Like he's still Charlie. Like, I think it's funny, and I don't see why, to be honest. Like, I don't see why.
I'm actually curious though, because I'll give my theory of why that is, but
even Bonnie in my version is not Bonnie in your version. Like the head of the tribe of the of the whatever. Like his best friend's a girl now. You know what I mean? Like,
which doesn't really seem like a Charlie thing.
Yeah, it doesn't at all.
I mean,
actually.
not that Charlie seems like he's sexist, but he seems like
but he's a dude. He's like a dude's dude.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
he wouldn't be. He doesn't sound like he'd be like. Anyway, so I honestly think the reason that is because it's way easier to write an emotionally distant, curmudgeonly dad than an emotionally distant, curmudgeonly mom. Like, and this, which to me is evidence once again that any gender stereotypes being challenged by this series, by the gender bent version of the series, is not doing so intentionally in any artful way. It's kind of incidental. But no, it is funny that, Charlie's he's there. And I like that Charlie keeps getting acknowledged. But once again, like we've said before, at this point in the game, like Charlie is an obstacle course. Like,
which, mind you, not mind you, as though I'm defending it, but is a trope. Like, it's the super trope. Like, I'm a teenage, gonna have super adventures. Teenager adventures. What's the biggest obstacle? My parents don't want me doing crazy stuff, so I'm gonna run around and it's gonna be a secret. Like, that's
but anyway. Okay, really, in the larger scope of things, what is the plot relevance of Charlie at this point? I mean, outside of the fact that we've
discussed this. We discussed this before, but it's the whole point of this is just to give an excuse for the main character to actually have a house and a home and be at school. Mainly to be at school. Like, for them to be 17 and not have a really unusual situation where they're working and so, you know what I mean? To make it so that they can be at a school and also be living somewhere. Because they're not of age.
Well, anyway, so Bella and Edward spent the night together, and Bella goes and gets dressed for the day. Edward sneaks out really quick and gets dressed for the day as well. He's back before Bella has a chance to realize he's gone. And once Charlie has left, they head off to go meet Edward's family. Edward's family live in a mansion, basically. It's not like a super mansion, but it is just a very, very nice, very modern, very open, spacious house. Probably the kind of thing that, people like. I'm sick.
You're really bad at this, dude.
I'm sick.
They're in a really it's a I'm sure it's a house people like
I can't think straight right now.
It's like you didn't even write. It's like you didn't even write read the chapter. You know what I mean? Like you're just making crap up. You know what I mean?
Oh yes, they've got a place. I'm sure people would like it.
And it's people, they would love it. That people would love it. This house,
oh my god. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm sick. I am not thinking entirely straight. Anyway, so Bella and Edward get out of the car and go, "Wow, I quite like that house. This is a house I think people would like." But Bella's really surprised by the house because it's like really open and airy. It's got like gigantic windows that let the sun in and all this stuff. And she kind of, they half jokingly are like, "Whoa, I was kind of expecting gargoyles." And so now we meet the whole family. Really, I mean, we've seen them. We've seen parts of the family. We've not met the mom yet, but we've seen parts of the family here and there kind of as side characters. But now, for the first time, we're actually meeting everybody. So everybody kind of gathers together in the front room. And after a little bit of kind of somewhat awkward discussion, including something that I'm going to mention in a minute, Edward takes Bella over to a piano after a lot of prodding from his mom, and he starts playing her his song that he wrote for her. And I have to say, this is something that we'll see whenever we do our commentary on the movie. But I just want to go ahead and say ahead of time that the song in the movie is probably the best part of the entire movie series. Which is not much of a compliment to the movie series, but it is a compliment to the song. Anyway, so she's all, swept up and, oh, wow, it's so romantic and so great. And the music's amazing. And,
God, such a teenage story. Oh
no, it really is, right?
You can play the piano and it's so good.
It reminds me of friends of mine back in the day who learned how to play guitar specifically to flirt with girls, and then it worked.
Geniuses.
I know.
Those people who do that are actually really they know what they're doing. Like, because it works. It works hardcore. Like, you just go to a park, you sit down. You be moderately attractive, but you play a guitar, and you go from moderately attractive to like, oh my god, and they'll sit down on your little quilt. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen that.
Yeah, and you have a quilt.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude. Anyway, it's to be that guy. Anyway, moving on. At least in that specific moment. Maybe not the rest of your whole life, but in that very specific moment of being able to play a musical instrument in a park, that guy's got it made.
Anyway, so the thing that I was going to mention earlier that was a little interesting was that so Edward can read minds, right?
Yeah.
Which means and I actually really like this. The way that is implemented into Edward's family is that, for example, and this mainly happens with Carlisle, but Carlisle will think what he wants to tell Edward, and then Edward just instantly picks up on it.
Oh yeah.
And so it's this.
It makes lots of sense.
It does, and it's actually kind of cool. Like it's a really well thought out detail that kind of nicely dodges at least part of the whole, but that makes no sense in a relationship bullet. So,
by actually implementing the power into his relationship.
Yeah, by actually including it in a way that makes sense.
And that's what I like about, like I said, that's what I like about the series. Like, I feel like this series does a pretty good job of, like, even if it's got cheesy tropes, at least, like, having the characters react semi-realistically, pretty realistically, in my opinion, to the tropes. Like, the tropes are still there. They're still, like, a fundamental aspect of the story, but the characters at least, like, react to those tropes as opposed to just as opposed to just treat those tropes as like perfectly normal without question and then like disregard them, like
right,
like even like Archie's power, Archie can see the future, right? It will Alice in your version, and so there's Alice will like talk to Bo later on, like from just because she can see the future of where he actually asked the question he's currently thinking, and like he goes, oh yeah, and then he answers like to, and so it's like, oh, it's a, I don't know, I like it, that makes sense. It's yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, no, I agree.
moving on.
So the rest of this chapter is pretty much taken up by Carlisle's origin story, which we talked about a little bit last time. Long story short, Carlisle is a good guy, good vampire, good man, good.
Well,
good
hold
job.
up. Let's talk about this though. I actually was reading this when I listened to that, and I was like, what the fuck? Like that makes no sense.
Oh really? Okay, I'm interested.
Well, and not Carlisle herself. Okay. So the whole point is that, or in my version, Kareen's dad is like a hunter of vampires. And Edith says, vampires. She says this: vampires need secrecy. But then I thought to myself, why? Like, why do you need secrecy? You see what I'm saying? Like, why would vampires need secrecy? And I guess now it kind of makes sense having more knowledge of things like the whatever Italian vampires that apparently rule the entire vampire world. But you're a god. You are a demigod. You know what I mean? You are like immortal, unkillable. Even in like modern technology, basically is powerless to you. How much more so in the medieval times. And you're gonna be hiding? Like, you're not, like, this is a time in which, like, kings and queens were considered to be, like, have the right of God and to truly be of noble birth and to kind of be otherworldly in a way, like, more beyond human than you are. You know what I mean? Not just a mere mortal in a true sense. They are mortal, but not like you and I are mortal. And you're just gonna be content like living in a sewer, just eating people sometimes. Like, they could send an army after you, and you could defeat the whole army. You know what I mean? Like, you could be this noble king or queen who like can prove her nobility simply by stepping into the sun. You see what I'm saying? Like, you could prove that you are a chosen, like, more pure blood, version of whatever you're ruling by your sheer existence. Like, and you're just gonna whatever, not a big, like, I just don't believe that. Like, that to me was one of the few moments where it was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, if I was a vampire and I had superpowers like that and I was unstoppable, you know what I mean? Like, why would you hide and instead not, become a sort of vampiric nobility, where you are open, in the open. Everyone knows that you're not truly, like, you're not normal human, but in a way that, like, you actually rule over everyone.
That's a really good question, because especially when you think about the ancient history part of this, like, if you go back in time far enough, like, in a modern sense, sure, it kind of makes some sense. Like, even if, because it is actually possible, it would actually be possible for humans to kill vampires. It's hard, but it is possible.
But I don't see where that's actually ever, like, alluded to in this, like, it sounds like it's pretty much impossible for a human to kill a vampire. Like,
no, it is, because, like, what they have to do is tear the vampire apart and burn the pieces. I mean,
like,
the vampire in Carlisle's origin story gets killed by the mob, or he, like, turns on the mob and tries to attack and whatever because he's too hungry. Carlisle gets bitten, but the rest of the mob chases him down and kills him.
I don't remember that in my story. Like, because in my story, they're powerless. Like, in my version, the mob could do nothing. Like, all the mob did was irritate the vampires, and so the vampire killed killed the dad for just being nosy, um, and then tortured Corrine at the same time. You know, they did both of those things simultaneously. Like, bit her, like tortured the dad, watched him, like had him watch her kind of suffer, and then killed him, and then he just left. Like, from what I remember.
Oh, that's okay. So that your version is different, because in my version, the way that
the mob could do nothing. Like, the mob, it actually explicitly says, like, what could a mob with pitchforks do to some vampires? Like, nothing.
Right, well,
nothing
right.
at all.
Well,
like,
in the original,
it says, in fact, my version says that, like, because the mob would, like, destroy anything defiled by a vampire, Corrine had to, like, sort of like bury herself into some potatoes, like into like a potato garden or something like that, like, and like hide there for like 3 days while she like slowly died and transformed into being a vampire.
Yeah, that
so,
part,
like,
that part's the same. But the original version, the dad doesn't die. As far as I remember, what happens is that Carlisle is kind of assuming his father's mantle, but I don't think the dad is actually dead from what I remember. And Carlisle is leading this hunting party to go take out some vampires. And one particular ancient old vampire that's very weak from hunger comes out and sees that they're being chased, starts running away, and then they hesitate, and then they turn around and they attack and manage to bring down, like, bite Carlisle, kill like one or two other guys or something like that. And then the mob keeps chasing after the vampire while Carlisle kind of scoots himself into this place and takes cover, because his father is so devoted to destroying vampires that his father, he's concerned his father will try and kill him unless he hides.
Oh, weird.
So it's pretty different. But the point is, it is conceivable that in the modern world, that even though there would be massive collateral damage, vampires could be killed, right? It could happen. However, even if we just set that aside for the moment, looking at the ancient world, like, it's like you said, there is no reason why, outside of just uncontrollable ravenous hunger that puts reason aside, which that part of it fades over time, and rational, reasonable thinking becomes way more possible the longer you've been a vampire, as we find out later. So what would be to stop, a vampire from revealing themselves to some group in like the 1300s and convincing them that they were some sort of god figure and demand sacrifice and become a king? Like,
yeah, like, yeah. And I think they actually talk about that. Like, they talk about that like in the really ancient days, like ancient Egypt, I think, was like ruled by vampires, according to like my last chapter of my book. I could be remembering it.
See, and some of that may just be that I don't remember, because that may be stuff covered in the later books.
Story, yeah. Like, but it's still like, I don't understand like why the vampires would hide, like, at all. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, particularly if the the Italian vampire family that ends up ruling vampiredom, like, if they still eat humans, like, so what? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, why not just rule over them? It makes no sense to me, just period, because I think humans would always use the power that they have. You know what I mean? They'd always be like, yeah, I'm gonna like become my power gives me the right to rule. Like, that's just how we work.
No, I mean, that is a good point. Like, anyway, long story short, we find out Carlisle's backstory.
And even if you were like even if you were the Italian family and you really were devoted to like keeping everything like secret, like, there would be no way in this like really loose like relationships that vampires have, which is they like are endlessly wandering unless they're vegetarian, like that you could really like, even if you were in control, so to speak, you would still have endless groups of people like just rising up and trying to take over small countries, small things. Like it would be happening all the time. Like it's anyway.
Doesn't make any sense to me. No.
Well, that about ends the chapter, actually, because really nothing else happens after Carlisle's backstory except that Edward kind of brings Bella farther into the house.
No. Oh wait, is it next chapter? Like, is this the part where like they go to Bella's room?
No. That's next chapter.
Okay, because I have a lot to fucking say.
Well, all right. In that case, I'm looking forward to recording that. So let's jump on that. So thanks for watching, everybody. Next time it's chapter 16, Book Blitz.
Back black.